everybody. Good afternoon. This is TA, Tracy Casey-Arnold, coming to you guys today for our Love Friday here on Instagram. Tried to get notifications out to you guys early enough for you to get notifications that I was going live, and hopefully you guys have received those. But I know that today, for our Love Friday, hey babe, that our Love Friday today, is really kind of a continuation from where we've been, honestly, the last couple of weeks. Just what we've been really talking about. And really when I look at the whole picture, it's been for almost 30 days that we've kind of been in this pocket when it comes to love and, trust. And when trust is broken, on top of that, when it's broken, how do you, step out to love again and to give your heart to someone again? And what you need to do. And again, that was a lot of fun last week, and you guys were definitely here in the house on last Friday. And then when I aired it on YouTube, how many people hopped on live and the conversations we were having. And so I can only imagine when I go and take the link on YouTube and put it on Facebook and promote it. I really am hoping the Lord's going to continue to use that to bless people. And if you did not see it, you guys, it is right here on IGTV. Again, it's to love again. Well, today, it's another real topic. It is out of season love. And this is really good because I was on a call with one of my soul sisters, and we were, in a session, and we were talking about, where she was in her life, where she was in her walk. And we were on the topic of relationships, but even more so on the topic of a relationship with Christ. Relationship with Christ and how it very much dictates. It has a lot to do with, and it has to be the center of everything when it comes to our relationships with people. Whether that is a relationship that we've got with someone we're dating, or it's a relationship with someone that we have that we're married to, or it's our relationship even when it comes to the people that are the closest to us, friends and family. It truly has to be. Now, we can have friendships, we can have relationships where it's not about Christ. But I know even in that realm, in order for the relationship to truly grow, for it to flourish, for it to withstand changes, for it to evolve into something bigger, man, I'm just going to tell you, a lot of times it has to be about Christ, or it's got to have what we call, and we'll just say it over here, it's got to have the fundamentals. It's got to have the basics. It's got to have the ABCs of the principles that are in the word. Whether you're giving credit to Christ or not, it has to. It's still the same and it always will be. Hey, Fan Chong, so glad that you've joined. So glad that you've joined. And so with that, our topic is out of season love. And I love this one just because, in my life when it comes to relationships, and especially, being a pastor for the Lord, a lot of times what the Lord brings to me to bear is what I'm going through. Whether it's something that I just went through, or something I'm going through, or something I just got out of. It is always something hot off the press. I absolutely love that the Lord does that, just because I've always wanted to be authentic and I've wanted people to feel my heart. Hey, Fancy Five. And if you guys can share that with the envelope so that people know that I'm on live, because again, there was only maybe 2-hour notice. But again, we're here every Friday, okay, at 11:55 Central Standard, 12:55 on the East Coast. And so when it came to this one, I really had to take some time this morning and really think this one through. Just because I wanted to make sure that I was real, raw, and authentic. But at the same time, because of what I do, hey, Mosley, that I anchor it back, into what I truly believe, my beliefs, and what I truly feel is the answer, a direction, and one that I know that in almost 99% of the times, with the exception of maybe 1%, it will be something that I know that if I anchor people to it, it'll be something that downright works. Okay. And so out of season love is, what do you do when you're in a relationship and it is somebody that you truly love with all your heart, and it's been this perfect paradise, where things have been great. Doesn't mean they've not been rocky at times. When things have been stable, when you've created a life, when you've even sat down and done dreaming and looked at the future, and you're heading down sailing towards a direction together, where no matter what you've challenged with, you've been able to prevail. No matter what's been thrown with you, you've been able to overcome. It's never, ever, ever become something that you couldn't prevail or make it through. This is your life. This is what you're about. This is what you put your whole heart in, and this is what you believe in. It's that relationship. But what happens when the perfect storm comes? That means a storm where it's not just heavy winds or heavy rain. A storm where it's not just a tornado or a hurricane. A storm where it's all of those happening all at once. What happens when it hits you? What happens when it hits your home? Okay, this is truly, to me, what I think many couples go through. This is truly where I feel many couples find themselves, but don't know what to do because the devastation, the collateral damage is so huge and so big. Okay, this is really truly where people don't know how to come back together, how to even assess, how to even be able to look at what is now laying in front of them in a million pieces and even have the belief that they can restore, they can rebuild, or they could even have a life together again, because everything that they called home, their relationship of home, was truly devastated by a storm that they didn't even know they were going to hit, or even one that they knew that was coming, but there was no way to be able to get out of its path. Okay, this is truly what I'm going to tell you. And so to me, this reminds me of what's happened right now to Louisiana and the Gulf Coast. This reminds me of all of the people that as they saw the perfect storm, Storm Laura, 110 to 150 miles per hour coming to their homeland. What could they do? Most people try to call relatives and say, hey, can we stay with you? We need to get out of harm's way. Some people didn't have any places to go, and they knew that they needed to anchor down. They needed to try to put boards up on their windows, or even those homes that maybe had a shelter, they needed to go and be secure. They needed to protect themselves. But Hurricane Laura was coming. There was nothing you could do. Nothing could stop it. Nothing could prevent it. Nothing could control it. Hurricane Laura was going to hit landfall. And even though you knew that storm was coming because you saw the things that were happening, you knew what was being built, you truly hoped that once it hit your home, once it really hit your relationship, that it would lose power, it would lose speed, it would lose wind to the point that when it got to your home, maybe there would be damage, but your home, your relationship would survive. This is what this reminds me of right now when it comes to being in a relationship that is no longer in season when things are great, when things are hot, when things are lovey-dovey, when things are good. You know, when things are, man, we have a little bit of argument, but we get over it. And then all of a sudden you wake up one day and something has hit your home and now it is completely shattered. You have the roof torn off. The windows are gone, and now anything can get in. The roof that secured you and kept you in a place of safety is now wide open. You're no longer secure. Memories that you had, things that you built in the home are destroyed all the way down to the bottom, that all you have is what's in your mind, but you no longer have things to capture those moments, to get you to remember those moments, to get you anchored in those moments. And more than anything, the whole entire structure has been torn down. What do you do? What do you do in a real raw relationship where you've been with someone for a while, or you've given your whole heart to someone? You've decided to build your future, your dreams, and even your steps to align with a life with this person. What do you do when devastation, whether it's trust, hey, Diva Mommy, whether it's something that's happened where now there's been adultery, or it's something that's happened to where now there's different things that have happened in your relationship that now just has affected and altered the whole entire look of the relationship, or even things that are just so devastating that you don't even know how you can prevail. What do you do when the perfect storm, all things, comes into your relationship and leaves it in total destruction? Well, this is what I want to talk to you about today. Because as I was looking and just quickly looking at studies of storms and tornadoes. And of course, they're everywhere right now because of what's happened to the Gulf Coast in Louisiana. There was something that God put in my heart in that moment that I thought, okay, Lord, if I'm going to preach that, I've got to make sure it's statistically correct. And every single thing that I looked for, every single thing that I dug in, lo and behold, it was strengthened, it was validated, it was downright factual. That even when the perfect storm comes and hit and you don't know how you're going to rebuild your life, how you're going to rebuild that relationship, how you're going to rebuild that marriage, even when that happens, and you see everything in devastation, you even see devastation around it, you see something that cannot be rebuilt. Hey, miss, there she is, 31829. I love that. You see something that no matter what you do, no matter how many tears you cry in that moment, no matter how much you throw your hands up to the air and pray to the Lord, nothing can change what is sitting before you. Your home, that relationship, is shattered in a million pieces and saturated with water, and many things blown completely away where you couldn't even find it, even if you tried. What do? To me, this reminds me of a stage in relationships that I just feel we got to talk more about. It is when your relationship is out of season. It's when it's gone from being blissful, I do, lovey-dovey, honeymoon, getting to know each other, doing things together, laughing, being friends, talking. And even if there are issues and troubles, you just get through it. To all of a sudden, you find your relationship is out of season. What do? When it's no longer in the sunny days and the good, cool breeze of 60 to 75 or 80, like San Diego, your relationship now is in the eye of the storm. It is out of the good season, and it is in a storm season. One so horrific, where even as they reported with Storm Laura, that it was unsurvivable, the prediction. This is a unsurvivable outcome. What do? First thing you do, and you must know, and I'm going to treat this just like what people in Louisiana are experiencing right now, is that lo and behold, when they knew that storm was coming, and they knew they had to leave or they had to shelter down, and now what they've done is they've gone back to their home to see the devastation. What do? What do when the reports of the weather storm or the national weather alert comes on saying that there is a tornado and a storm coming their way? What do? And what do when they get there and they see that everything is gone right down to the bottom? Well, the first thing that you must do if you know that a storm is coming, you must take cover and seek shelter. If you know that your relationship is heading towards a storm, or you know it is just now got into the eye of the storm, you must take cover and seek shelter. The next thing, once the storm is gone and you come and you see the damage, the morning after everything just got set on fire or everything just catapulted and things just uprooted in your relationship, that you can't find it, you can't grab it, it no longer exists. The whole structure of your relationship is no longer there. What do? Well, before you can assess the damage of the relationship, you must, at all costs, assess the damage that has happened to you. See, so many of us try to hurry up and go ahead and start trying to fix it. So many of us are trying to do whatever it takes to get back to the normal. So many of us are just trying to swallow down those emotions and stay strong and say, it's going to be okay, it's going to be all right. But there's been a real huge damaging storm to this relationship. It ain't going to be all right today. It isn't all right in that moment. There's been a damage in all areas, on all levels. And the first thing you must do in that moment is you must tend to you. So many of us immediately go into a servant mode. So many of us immediately go into the other person's feelings, what they're thinking. There's a true damage that has happened, and it's happened to you. Not just to the marriage, not just to the relationship, to you. What damage has now happened? To me, this is no different than everybody who is going back to their home. One of the very first things they have to do, the only thing that they have to do, if they have insurance, is they call an insurance company. And the number one thing that the insurance company does is we must send out someone to come and assess the damage. But before we do that, we need to ask you some questions. And what do they always ask you? Are you okay? You get into an accident. What does that claims adjuster ask you? Do you need medical attention? Are you hurt? Do you need healing? Because they know that before we can even get to this, we must tend to the need in your heart. We must tend to the need of your broken flesh. We must tend to the need of your brokenness. All this is secondary. How are you, Miss Arnold? How are you, Kelly, Mark, and Steve? How are you in this moment? Do we need to send an ambulance to you? Do we need to send EMS to you? Are you okay? And those that are with you, are they okay? That's the first thing that has to happen. Is the assessment has to be with you before it could ever be to the home and the relationship that's in shambles. And then the next thing that happens is after you talk about yourself, you must talk about the damage that has been done. You must talk about the damage that has been done so that they have an idea of what they're going into and what is needed. You must lay down in that moment all these questions that they ask you. You must talk about the windows and the doors that are no longer there and the roof that's been torn off. You got to talk about, what things were there and how much do you feel those things were of value. You got to literally assess the whole entire being of that home, that house, that relationship, and you got to lay it all down to them in a way because in that moment, and this is how insurance companies go, that if you don't lay down all of the damage on that phone, then they go and assess at that moment what little damage it is or how big it is. You gotta really paint a picture. It's like you're pouring out every single thing and you're laying it on the altar. Every single piece, because every single piece needs to be redeemed, needs to be recovered, needs to be replaced. Oh, so y'all know where I'm going now. Every single part. Because you don't want to go down years later and you're looking for something because something feels like it's missing and you realize that in the eye of the storm, that got damaged and now it can never, even if you've rebuilt, something is still missing. It is in that moment that every single thing of the physical, of the emotional, has to be laid down. This is where we transfer our message today from an insurance agent to our Lord and Savior. See, He's our agent. He's our insurance policy. He's our assessor. He's the one who comes out as the claim adjuster, and He's even the one that'll pay out in triple, double portions of what the enemy stole. But He's also our healer. And He's our provider. And when it comes to the damage that's done, we need to lay it out to our Father, every single thing. Not that He didn't see it, but when we go to the Lord, there's an honoring there. There's a transfer that happens in that moment. Because in that moment, when your house is completely destroyed, when your marriage or your relationship is completely shattered, the only person that can give you a check to even start with something is our Father. And if you try to do it, what do you have? Nothing but broken bones and a broken body and a broken heart. How are you going to be able to put it back together? You're going to put back something broken. That when the next storm comes through, it's just downright the exact same thing over again. Except this time when it happens again, you start feeling stupid. You start feeling shame. You start getting mad at yourself because you knew the first time it happened, but now you're the reason why it happened again. Somebody needs to hear this today. Somebody needs to hear this today. And this is where, after we lay down everything, we make sure that rap sheet is full. And just like an insurance company, we hang up the phone and then we've got to totally trust that that insurance company is going to go get to work on our case. Woo, come on, God. They're going to get to work at fighting for us, defending us, and making sure that every single thing, they're even going to send people out to take pictures. They're even going to ask you, even if something's in shambles, do you know what this is? Do you have any records and receipts of what you bought? What was your life? And what was the value of it so that we can replace it? And it's not going to be this house, but we can replace it. This is where we got to go to God. Because in those moments, while that relationship is shattered, we got to lay it all out to God, because in that moment when we trust him, we're trusting him to not only fix it, to redeem it, but right now we don't have a home. We don't have a relationship. We're trusting him that in that moment to be the gap, to be the difference, to cover and protect us in that moment, because the enemy now can get all in. The enemy now has nothing that stands in between you, your relationship, your heart. And the only thing you've got, the only insurance policy you got, oh man, Diva Mommy, go. The only coverage you got is him. You can't do it. You need the $1 million policy that covers for even the things that weren't even written in. You need the insurance policy that says, you know what, this isn't part of your agreement that I see, but don't you worry. We gonna take care of you because we value you. What do? In that moment, you got to give it to God and you got to trust him. And you got to stay with God because he will protect you and cover you, because you're vulnerable in that moment. And there's no way that you can even go function. You can't cook a meal in the kitchen. It's gone. You can't sleep in that bed. That bed's been destroyed. You can't classify this as your life and your home. It's gone. What do? When the perfect storm has hit your relationship, what do? Let the Lord take back the reins of what he owns. So this is where in those moments we got to truly remember we are not of the world. We are of him. So if something has happened on our homeland, if something has happened in our relationship, if something is happening with our relationship with the kids, if something has happened with our relationship with our daddy, if something has happened with our relationship with our brother and sisters, if something has happened with our relationship, even with those that we are dating or married, we must know when we give our life to God, it belongs to him. So it's like you got to go to him and say, look, let me tell you what happened to your relationship, God. Let me tell you what happened to your home. Let me tell you what happened to your daughter. Let me tell you what happened to your son. Let me tell you what happened to yours, Lord. You're the owner. You got to fix this. We've got to go to him. And this is not a choice. When you choose to really walk with the Lord, guess what it's called? Obedience. It's about being obedient. Just saying. But the thing we got to be careful, because we're human and we're flesh, is that when we see that destruction, this is a tough one, y'all. And in our mind, because we're not capable of that kind of supernatural restoration, repair, redeeming, only God can, we go judge what's going to happen, what the outcome is based on the devastation. So we say we no longer have a relationship. Come on, I've been there. It's not going to make it. It's not going to work. This I can't do. I can't fix this. We go take the home. The home. And we assess the home based on how devastated how destructive and destituted the structure is of the relationship. And based on what we can see, come on, Lord, that was good. Based on our capabilities, based on even our heart, because our heart is barely pumping. We got to be on life support because we're that devastated. We can't do it, and there's nothing left in me but the air that I have right now just so I can stay alive. Come on, y'all know what that feels like. You can't tend to anybody else. You can't even try to pick up the pieces because you're over here on life support, right? Trying to just stay above water to breathe, that you ain't got nothing left for anybody else. There's no way that you can say, let's start to build this back again. What? There's no way. And even the thought of it causes you to even feel more like it's over and it's done. But here's the thing that I'm going to wrap up with in 5 minutes, and I'm determined to wrap this up in 5. I'm looking at this clock. Home is not the building. Home is the heart. You've heard the saying, home is where the heart is. Our God went through a perfect storm. God's people forsaken him, betrayed him, convicted him, tried him even when innocent. That perfect storm happened. They hurt him physically, mentally, emotionally. They broke him down. They flogged him and made him bleed out to where he was just barely hanging on. Our God would experience physical, mental, emotion, and even spiritual death. And when your house of a relationship breaks like that, you have experienced a Christ moment. Every part of his being was beaten, tried, and broken. Every part of our being in that moment. Every part of those people in Louisiana. This is what they're seeing and what they're assessing their life to, their relationships, their future. And I'm going to tell you, if you've built a life with someone so big, your whole hope that the only person that could help you in that moment is God. But through God's love, his love for his Father, his love for us, and only through love, he was able to follow through so we could be saved. It was the only thing that was able to get him through that perfect storm. That love was the thing that even though it looked like death, it raised it up. Even though all of those people around that saw him die, because of love, he was resurrected. That even though we see this relationship in the way that it is, it's death. Through love, through Christ, it can be raised just like Lazarus. It can be raised just like God. Because God defeated death. It is only through love can the home become a home again, no matter where it's at. Because it was built on a resurrected death. When you go and look at the devastation of every single time a hurricane and a storm hits, every single time, you see the walls off, windows, front door, roof, everything shattered. But do you realize, and this is the study that I did, that even in all that, guess what's standing? The foundation. That perfect storm can come through and take everything out of that home and destroy it. But when a foundation is built so solid, it can't move the foundation. Our God was a rock. He was a foundation when he died for us and raised the next day. He is the foundation that no matter what storm, no matter what the enemy does, no matter how many times your relationship dies over and over and over and over again, God said through me, when you build your relationship on me, Let it come. Because if you build it on me, that when you show up the next morning and you look to me, when you show up on your lifeline bed just calling out to me and you built your relationship on me, you will know. And you can even call me to it, Lord, I need you to repair this. And because the foundation is solid and it is a rock, it may not be in the same location or built the same way, but our God is a type of God that when the enemy comes through and that foundation is there, he builds it even bigger, stronger, and better than what it was before. Our God, because of his commitment, his word, and our covenant with him. It is so important that in times of destitution, in times of when that perfect storm hits your life, your family, your kids, your job, your finances, your marriage, that you make sure that your foundation is built on God, because no matter what happens when you show up the next day, you know your God is one who's already on the job. He's already repairing. He's already restoring. He's already redeeming. But if you don't go to him, if you don't lay it all out to him and talk about every single thing that you've lost, you're not honoring God to know that he's the Father and he's the landlord of your life. And what happens when you're in an apartment and something goes wrong? Who do you call? Your landlord. It belongs to him when you give your relationship to him, which is why God had us walk through a certain thing called courtship and come together before him. Why he did certain things to make sure that we came together and joined as one. He was the center of it because he's the provider of it. He's the owner of it. Every relationship goes through an in season and an out of season. It goes through days of sun and laughter and joy, days of fall where things are falling, but you're still good. You can see the sun. But every relationship goes through a winter and it goes through a storm. And every relationship, at some point and maybe even more than once, goes through the perfect storm where everything comes at it. That when you wake up in the morning and you go and look at that relationship, there's nothing there but God is the only answer, the only way. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whoever believes in him should not perish and have eternal life. John 3:16. Above all, keep fervent in love and love for one another, because love covers a multitude of sins. 1 Peter 4:8. And last, whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. 1 John 4:8. And love is the most powerful thing of all. So when you find that your relationship is out of season, get on your knees if you need to. Stay there all day long if you have to. Give yourself, your heart, your broken pieces, the broken marriage, the broken relationship. Friendships, relationships with family, and give it to God. And put God over it because it's his. Get God all up in it because he is a solid foundation, and through him, nothing that has been taken, nothing that has been destroyed will not be rebuilt. So I love you guys. I hope this message has blessed somebody today. Somebody today. Because they need to hear it. Know that you guys, I'll be here later on Facebook, me and my husband, Pastor Q, praying for those who need prayer. And to know that I'm Monday through Friday now, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Instagram is Wednesdays and Thursdays. Wednesdays and Fridays. Wednesday is all about life and all the scriptures that God has in the Bible that we know we will win. It's winning scriptures that we need to be anchored to. And on Friday, it's Love Day. All right, you guys, I love you. Be blessed. Have a fantastic Friday, you guys, and a fantastic weekend. Again, prayer tonight on Facebook with me and Pastor Q. And again, we start a whole nother week, y'all. We got through this week. And we will get through another one, you guys. Through Christ, we will always be victorious, even if it is one day at a time. I love you guys. Be blessed. And I will see you guys next week. Bye-bye.